What is a coincidence? Have you ever wondered if there was more to coincidences than you thought? What is a coincidence really? Is it serendipity? Deja vu? Is it random selection? How strange or random does a situation have to be to qualify as a coincidence? How many of us miss out on coincidences by mere seconds because we're just not in the right place at the right time? We were just moments early or moments late. Can a single coincidence change your life and destiny?
Excuse me, you wouldn't happen to work at biotech, would you?
I do.
You wouldn't by any chance be working in the research department, would you?
I do.
Have you experienced a coincidence? Or perhaps you live a life full of coincidences. Maybe you have seasons in your life where you have storylines that happen to you that Hollywood couldn't even write. Then there are other seasons of nothing. On the road to destiny, the road is full of coincidences. Destiny isn't fate. It's not rigid. It's not fixed. It's not predetermined. Destiny has twists and turns. Coincidences are the milestones God uses to tell us we are on the right track.
Do you know somebody who has experience in research and development?
Well,
You should bring me your resume.
Destiny isn't a straight line. It's more like a tapestry that's woven every day by the decisions we make. God is the one who gave you your destiny. He gave it, but you get to walk it out. That's what makes it a mystery, the mystery of destiny. There's this mysterious tension that takes place between the choices we make and this thing we call destiny. What is destiny anyway? Is destiny the same thing as fate? Is it fate that you're watching this program? Or is it part of God's master plan? Can a destiny be lost? What happens to the destiny of those who die prematurely? What happens to the destiny of those who simply choose another path? Can a person miss their destiny? If God truly knows the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end, then wouldn't God know that you would choose a different path? So why does God waste a perfectly good destiny on a person who had no intention of using it in the first place? Or if God's destiny for you worked like this GPS right here.
At the next street, turn right.
What if God was like this? He had a set of directions for you to reach your destination.
In 100 feet, turn right. Recalculating.
But instead of giving up on you when you made the wrong choice, He just recalculates. God has chosen a destiny for you, and He isn't going to take it back just because you've made a few bad choices. We've all made bad choices, and we're grateful that God has given us mercy. You might have heard the phrase, the gifts and callings of God are irrevocable. What does that mean? Well, that means that God gives you gifts or talents or abilities. He's not going to take them back. Just like the color of your eyes or your physical stature, God has given you gifts at birth, and they stay with you the rest of your life, even if you don't use them. All of us wonder about our destiny. But how does God let us know what that destiny is? He calls us. He calls us into that destiny, and one of the ways He does it is supernaturally.
You've reached your final destination.
God calls people into their destiny in many ways, and many are supernatural or beyond natural or beyond normal explanation anyway. One amazing way is for a person to have an encounter with God where He shows the person their whole life unfolding right before their eyes. Just like watching a movie and fast forward. God could show you everyone you're destined to influence and impact. He can show you the whole picture in one experience, one vision, one dream. But usually it doesn't happen that way, and that's really a good thing. Can you imagine if this GPS device gave you all the directions to your destination all at once and then just shut off? My memory's not that good, so I don't think that would be quite helpful in the way that we want anyway. God, much like this GPS device, gives you your directions along the way. But you have to leave the driveway first. In other words, you have to get out of the rut you may be in. You have to exercise faith. Along the way, God will give you directions. Sometimes those directions come from supernatural means. One of the ways that God helps you reach your destination is through a prophetic word. Now, a prophetic word is simply the heart of God revealed to one person for the benefit of someone else. Why would God trust another human being with something as important as your destiny? Well, a prophetic word isn't your destiny. You see, a prophetic word is a lot like this caution sign. You see, this sign, for instance, says caution. Like all signs, the sign itself isn't the destination. The sign is designed to help you reach your destination. This sign is a sign of warning. It's something coming up on the road ahead. And it's no different than if this sign would have said, next rest stop 5 miles. You see, it's meant to help you. The sign is what helps you reach that destination by providing direction, encouragement, or sometimes a warning, just like this. Remember, not all prophetic words are "Thus saith the Lord" proclamations to the nation. If that's all you think about when you hear the term prophetic words, then you could be missing out on an important way God speaks to His people. In fact, most prophetic words are personal prophecy. One of the first prophetic words that Jesus gave during His ministry wasn't to the nation of Israel. It was to one person, Nathanael. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, He said this, "Behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit." Why did Jesus say that to Nathanael? Well, personal prophecy can sometimes seem out of left field, but to the person receiving that word, it can be the right word at the right time. Nathanael needed to know what God thought about him right then in order to stay on course. Sometimes you think you know what God has told you, but opposition comes and you question if God has a purpose and a plan for your life at all. Sometimes you need a reminder. Sometimes you just need a sign. Are you looking for a sign? A good place to start is by reading the Bible. It's full of them, and it will sensitize you to any other sign God might want to give you.
Throughout the difficulties of life, we found that overcoming fear and rejection was key in our relationship with God and each other. Through John Paul's life-changing resource, the Hope Collection, his book, Breaking Free of Rejection, John Paul showed us how to truly become the person that God has created us to be. Also included how God kills fear and Where's God When Things Don't Turn Out As You Planned on DVD. The Hope Collection can be yours for your gift of $45 or more to the ministry. Get free from the hold that fear, rejection, and disappointment have on you with these powerful, life-changing resources. Order the Hope Collection by calling 1-800-538-5285 or go to dreamsandmysteries.com.
Directions are sometimes confusing. Have you ever been given directions somewhere and nothing seemed to look like what they said it should look like? Let's take a look at an example of that. Your directions told you to drive about 5 miles and look for a large red barn. But you've driven 8 miles already and you haven't seen the barn. Your first response might be to make a U-turn. U-turns are great when you're going the wrong direction, but when you're going the right direction and you make a U-turn, it just delays your arrival.
Oh, your love is like no other. No man can put asunder. Your faithfulness it reaches.
Or they'll question the directions themselves.
Lost inside your wonder. I fall completely under. Your grace it reaches far.
Or they'll trust in the person who gave the directions to them. Remain patient and wait for the signs that have been promised to come.
Everlasting love mine.
How many times have you made the decision to give up only to find out that the landmark was just over the next hill? Staying on the path that God has planned for you is not a precise walk, and neither are His directions. That's actually a good thing, because there's something I call the clarity cost principle that you should consider when wondering, when is God going to give me direction? The clarity cost principle is a spiritual principle that says the clearer the direction you receive from God, the greater the cost or difficulty. Difficulty in what? Difficulty fulfilling what He's called you to do. Let me restate that again. The clarity cost principle means that the clearer or more specific the direction you get from God, the more difficult it will be to fulfill it. Clarity is given so that when times are difficult, you don't forget it was God who told you to do it. You might remember the story of Noah. Do you remember Bill Cosby's version? Noah, I want you to build an ark. And Noah responds to God by saying, sure, God. What's an ark? Let's bring this into your life. Let's say you're called to be a leader of young adults. You may have received that call in a variety of ways, and you have a desire in your heart to do that. That's one level of calling, that desire level of calling. But if you hear the audible voice of God tell you that you're called to be a young adult leader, that's a whole lot different. The call has now become very, very clear. So let me explain it a different way. Let's give that destiny a name, the inner city youth leader. See, your destiny is that you're called to gather and lead an inner city group of young adults that will change their neighborhood through community service. That's the destiny that God has gifted and called you to. When I arrive at this desk, I'm fulfilling or have fulfilled the purpose for which I was created, the one that God created me for. At the end of this rope, this end that I'm holding is me. This rope can be very long or this rope can be very short, depending on where you are going toward your destiny. When you haven't been given a clear message from God, like Noah, what are you supposed to do? It doesn't mean that God doesn't have a plan for you. It means that in God's plans, at this point, the rope is very long. In other words, you have a lot of flexibility in what God's called you to do. Some call this great grace, meaning you can do a lot of things without violating what God's told you to do. So let's say I feel like I'm supposed to work with youth, but I haven't been given clear directions, like where. I get along great with them. They seem like they like me. They want to hang out with me. Great. Well, at this point, I have a lot of slack in my rope. But what if God gives me a clearer direction? What if He tells me something more? Let's say I get a prophetic word about moving to Chicago. Okay, well, once Chicago comes into the picture, I don't have a lot of choice. I have to go that direction. In addition, I have a dream that night where I'm helping the people in a poor neighborhood clean up their streets. Then a week later, a third coincidence happens and I get an email from a friend totally out of the blue inviting me to come to an event, a youth event in Chicago. You see, with each coincidence, the rope gets a little bit shorter and a little bit shorter, and the picture becomes a little more clear. Before the prophetic word, the dream, and the email from my friend, I was on a very long leash. But the roadmap to my destiny, with all these things from God, is now coming into clearer focus. This is what I call the clarity cost principle. With greater clarity comes greater cost. You don't have room to deviate. So what is the clarity costing you? Choices. The clearer the direction you get from God, the less room you have to deviate from His directions. Let me describe it one other way. If God wants to tell me to move to Texas, which, by the way, He did, I could move anywhere in Texas I wanted. I could move in El Paso, I could live down in Houston, I could live out in Marshall, and still be within God's will, still following the perfect will of God for me up to that point. However, if He tells me I'm to move to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I no longer have the grace to move to San Antonio. I can't live in Houston. I need to live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And if He tells me to move to a specific suburb of Dallas, I no longer have the rope or the length or the flexibility to live outside of that suburb. You see, it costs something when you receive clear revelation from God about your future. Many times it means that what you used to get away with, you no longer get away with. What you used to be able to do, you're no longer able to do. Whether or not I reach my destiny is up to me. I can untie the rope at any moment. I can unvolunteer. But what choice could I possibly make that would lead to greater joy than fulfilling the very purpose for which I was created? Hold on to this rope, because there's one thing you can be sure of. God won't let go of His end.
The Art of Hearing God for Kids is an exciting new children's curriculum based on John Paul Jackson's groundbreaking course, The Art of Hearing God. This course is a collaborative effort between pastors, teachers, art, and occupational therapists that will engage your child's ability to remember God's Word and then apply it to their life every day. Students are taught these lessons with movement, activities, games, art, and a listening time to practice hearing God's voice. Students fall in love with Shammy, a big-eared elephant that has a hard time hearing God but desperately wants to. The Art of Hearing God for Kids is a unique blend of word and spirit, designed to help your child discover their own personal relationship with Jesus. Not to mention, it's fun.
Classes in session with John Paul Jackson's online School of Ministry. Available online are 4 university-caliber courses written by John Paul. It's never been easier to take a quantum leap forward in your spiritual walk. The courses include The Art of Hearing God, Understanding Dreams and Visions, Prayer and Spiritual Warfare, and Living the Spiritual Life. Begin your journey to better understand everything that God has for you by going to dreamsandmysteries.com.
The wonderful thing about dreams is that when you understand them, they reveal facets of your destiny. It could be as subtle as a simple course correction, or it could be a complete picture of your future full of vibrant color and supernatural splendor. Think about the dream that Joseph had about the stars and the sheaves of wheat. Boy, there's a dream. Dreams are truly messages from eternity. And when you interpret their meaning, you can catch a glimpse of the future and your place in it.
I'm in this large room with lots of people. I can see that someone is up on stage speaking, so I start looking around for a seat. And I see an usher, and I apologize for being late. I don't know why I was late. I just knew that everyone else was already seated and the speaker had already started. And the usher said, "Kim," I don't know how he knew my name, "you're not late. You don't speak until after he's finished." I said, "What? I'm not speaking." He just laughed and said, "You always say that." Then he led me to the front row. And at this point, I'm starting to freak out. I don't know what to say. I don't have any notes. I'm not prepared. And the next thing I know, I'm up on stage and I'm talking and everyone seems to be enjoying it. I'm not nervous. I actually don't want it to end. But then I look down and I'm not fully dressed. I can't believe it. This whole time I've been up on stage and I don't have on all my clothes. I don't think anyone noticed. I finish up my speech trying to hide behind the microphone stand. Then I wake up.
This is a stellar dream. It's a calling dream, but it also has several key points to it that will help you reach your destiny. First of all, the dream is calling you to a public role, or to a role where you'll have influence over large groups of people. You may not recognize this calling right now, as evidenced in the dream by you thinking you were supposed to be part of the audience. But God has created within you the ability to influence others, and has given you what the Bible calls favor with man. And God wants you to start preparing now to be ready when He gives you the platform to speak to large groups of people. It takes some preparation. And part of that preparation might be overcoming a fear of public speaking. Second, this part really is stressed in your dream. In order for you to come across as credible and believable, in order for you to reach the audience that you're supposed to reach, you'll need to be transparent. Whew, transparent. You see, nakedness in dreams doesn't really mean nakedness. It usually represents an ability or inability to be open and transparent. You're uncovering yourself for the purpose of gaining trust with your audience. In essence, what transparency really is that you believe it's more important that someone connect with you at a human level than it is for you to look like you have all the answers. Transparency is big to God. Yes, of course, He wants you to learn from your mistakes, and all of our mistakes. We all need to learn from them. But He also wants us to share what we've learned from our mistakes with others. Why? Because destiny isn't always a straight line. For some of us, it's a series of twists and turns. We often think we've missed it. We think we've made the wrong turn. We've somehow missed our window of opportunity to follow God. But you know what? You haven't. Because God is always right there with you. And even when you mess up, to Him, it's simple. It's as simple as recalculating. Calling dreams come in all shapes and sizes. Calling dreams are when God is telling you where He wants to take you. They can act like a magnifying glass in our lives to reveal some of the reasons why we're here. Like the dreamer who was destined to be in a public role but needed to overcome her fear of public speaking. Or even the issue of God telling her when she reaches that point of speaking in front of large groups of people, she has to remember to be open and transparent in her messages. Dreams can give you the big picture as well. For example, dreams can look far, far ahead into the future, away into your life, where you're going, show you the big picture, the galactic picture of God's master plan for your life. Like our dreamer, she's up on stage in front of hundreds of people delivering a speech, fearless, transparent, because she dealt with those issues long ago. Dreams are a powerful way that God speaks to us about our destiny, but they may not be the strangest way. Sometimes God will call you into your destiny by a supernatural event that defies explanation. I call these power encounters. Why does God communicate with us this way? On one hand, we can become stubborn and set in our ways. We can become like Saul of Tarsus and independent. But some of us might need the blinding light on the Damascus road to propel us to our destiny like Saul did. On the other hand, God created you. He knows exactly what's going to take place. He knows exactly what it will take to get your attention. Some of us just need a little tap on the back, so to speak. Others need a bright and shining light. But before you start asking God to send the bright and shining light, remember the clarity cost principle. The greater clarity you receive from God about your destiny, the shorter leash you get, and the greater it costs. The cost is what Jesus was referring to when He tells us to pick up our cross. You see, you're asked to pick up your own cross, and that usually means you're going to have to set something else down, usually what you want to do, to carry it. And you may not be ready to set that down. Paul received great clarity about what God was asking him to do, but it also came with great persecution. And if that weren't enough, it also came with a thorn in his flesh. That's part of the mystery of this divine destiny, that God knows, but he's not always telling, at least not when we want him to, and not all at once. Sometimes that's a good thing.
Over the last 30 years, John Paul Jackson has studied how God speaks metaphorically through dreams, parables, and proverbs in the Bible. God wants all believers to understand their dreams, and that includes you. For your gift of $35 or more, we'd like to send you the Beginner's Dream Bundle, a 2-CD teaching the basics of dreams, visions, and strange events, and 3 dream cards to help you understand and decode what God is telling you while you sleep. If you still need more, jump up to the Advanced Dream Bundle. For your gift of $50 or more, we'll include everything you see, plus John Paul's 6-CD set, Understanding Dreams and Visions, and the Moments with God Dream Journal. Dreams are messages from eternity, but without an interpretation. They're just a mere occurrence. Order your dream bundle today. Visit dreamsandmysteries.com or call 1-800-538-5285. Are you looking to uncover more mysteries? With over 100 videos, free downloads, and new videos added monthly, Streams Media Plus offers you teaching and training on biblical subjects. As a member, you will have exclusive access to Dreamopedia, a dream mentoring program, and Beyond, an interactive program where John Paul answers tough spiritual questions from subscribers. $10 a month gets you connected to everything in our library, at home, in the office, or on the go. Get started today at dreamsandmysteries.com.
God's ability to design and create is so vast that no two snowflakes are identical. And if God puts that kind of interest into something that falls to the ground and melts away in seconds, how much more would he put into your destiny? That's why it's nothing to him to give you a dream, a vision, a power encounter, or even to speak to you through a prophetic word. God can visit you through an experience that has no earthly explanation. You might be getting the idea you were created for greatness. You were created so precisely that no other person on earth can do what you're called to do. You were birthed here on the earth at the very moment in history, the very moment when your gifts and attributes would be needed most, and at the exact geographical place where you could have the greatest impact on those around you. That's how important you are to God. But just because God's plan for you was created perfect, it doesn't require you to be. God knew what he was getting when he called you, and his word says he'll never take back the blueprints he's created for your life. He just recalculates.